Good evening, traveler. Welcome to another quiet journey with the Sleepy Traveler, where we leave behind the noise of your day, wandering into hidden corners of the world and drifting gently towards sleep. Tonight, I want you to imagine yourself deep in the heart of Cambodia, where the air is warm and fragrant, where the jungle breathes around you, and where a temple of smiling stone has been waiting patiently for you through centuries of sun and rain. You've already put your phone away. Your head rests against your pillow, and the world of emails and bright screens is slowly fading behind you. Now, close your eyes if you'd like, and picture yourself as a quiet explorer, a traveler just like me, stepping into a dream woven from history, earth, and sky. For centuries, visitors have been drawn to this place, whispering of its mystery and grace. A temple rising from the forest, crowned with towers, each adorned with serene stone faces that gaze outward, inward, and everywhere at once. Some say they are the faces of a king. Others say they are the faces of the Bodhisattva, a symbol of infinite compassion. Whoever they are, they have been watching over the world for more than 800 years, smiling softly through centuries of change. Tonight, I will take you there. We'll begin our walk just as the last light of day gives way to twilight. The air is thick but comforting, and the horizon glows faintly with the last gold and pink of the sun. The jungle around you hums with quiet life. The chirp of cicadas, the flutter of wings, the faint rustle of leaves in the warm breeze. A narrow path stretches before you, paved with ancient stones worn smooth by countless feet. Tall trees stand like sentinels on either side, their roots curling into the earth and climbing the walls, as if holding everything in place. Their branches knit together overhead, turning the sky above into a shifting canopy of leaves and stars. You walk slowly, your steps quiet, muffled by the moss and dust that has settled here over the centuries. Somewhere far off, you hear the low, rhythmic chanting of monks carried on the air, so faint you wonder if you imagined it. Ahead, the path leads to an archway. It rises high above you, its edges softened by time, crowned with a massive stone face that gazes down at you. Even in the dim light, you can see the faint curve of its lips, a calm, knowing smile. You pause for just a moment beneath it, feeling the weight of its quiet welcome, then step through. On the other side, the temple opens around you. The air cools slightly as you step into the courtyard, where rows of towers rise like stone sentinels. Each one carries 4 faces, carved on every side, so that no matter where you look, they are watching. Some faces catch the faint silver of moonlight, others linger in shadow, but all seem alive in their stillness. You let your hand brush the stones as you walk. They are cool to the touch, their surfaces textured with carvings that have endured storms, heat, and time. The scent of earth and incense drifts through the corridors. Tiny white flowers peek out from cracks in the stones, and vines climb toward the towers, as if reaching for the faces above. It's quiet here, yet the quiet feels full, like a long-held breath, or the hush of a crowd waiting for something sacred to begin. You wander deeper, Narrow doorways lead you through corridors and into chambers where the faint echo of your footsteps lingers a little too long, as though the stones are remembering each sound you make. Faces meet you at every turn, some high above, some just at eye level, some tucked away in corners where only the moonlight finds them. You reach the central platform at last. Here, the towers cluster close together, a crown of stone rising into the night sky. The smiles of the faces seem closer, more personal, as if they are watching only you now. You take a seat on one of the worn steps, letting yourself lean back against the cool stone. For a moment, you close your eyes. You imagine this place alive with the sounds of centuries past. Footsteps on the stones, the murmur of prayers, the steady rhythm of drums echoing between the towers. You imagine the king who built this place walking here, his own smile mirroring those above him. You imagine the monks who came after, their saffron robes bright against the grey stone, whispering their chants into the air. Then, just as quickly, you return to the quiet present. The jungle sighs softly around you. Stars begin to blink awake overhead. The moon glows faintly behind the shifting canopy, and the faces of Bayon continue their endless watch. Tonight, traveler, you and I will wander through this temple together. We'll explore its hidden corners and quiet corridors. We'll listen for the stories etched into its stones and feel the centuries folded into its silence. Don't worry about finding every answer tonight. You don't need to know whose faces those really are, or why they still smile after all these years. Tonight isn't about knowing. Tonight is about being here. Let your thoughts slow down. Let the warm air settle around you. Let the quiet of this place guide your breath. You are here now in a temple that has watched the world for 8 centuries, waiting patiently for someone just like you to sit and listen. When you're ready, we'll begin our journey through its 6 chapters, each one a step deeper into the dream of this place. You rise slowly from the cool step, feeling the faint roughness of the stone against your palm as you push yourself upright. The air seems even softer now, as though the temple has settled around you, its quiet deepening into something more intimate. The faintest breeze passes through the courtyard, carrying the scent of damp earth and something faintly sweet. Crushed flowers, perhaps, or the trace of long-burned incense clinging to the walls. Ahead of you, a passage stretches deeper into the heart of the Bayon. The way is flanked by low walls, both of them carved with endless rows of figures. Dancers frozen mid-spin, warriors locked in silent battle, elephants and horses parading across the stone. The carvings are intricate and worn, yet the stories they tell still seem alive, as though the figures might move again if you only look away long enough. You let your fingers glide along them as you walk. The grooves are shallow now, smoothed by countless hands over the centuries, but the shapes remain, patient and proud. You reach the base of a staircase. It isn't steep, only a few broad steps worn almost concave in the middle from use. On either side of the stairs stand 2 guardian lions, or what remains of them. One is missing its head entirely, and the other has lost its front paws. But their stance is still imposing, their gaze still fixed outward, as though daring the jungle itself to intrude. You pause at the top of the stairs. Here, the Gate of Smiles greets you. It is the main southern gate of the Bayon complex, though it feels more like a threshold between worlds. The arch rises high above you, so tall it seems to scrape the sky. At its peak sits a massive face carved into the stone, the first of many. This one watches you directly. Even in shadow, its smile is unmistakable, soft yet deliberate, a curve that suggests welcome without words. The eyes seem to follow you as you move closer, though they are empty, just dark hollows shaped by skilled hands long ago. You take your time stepping through. On the other side of the gate, the light changes. The air seems to grow cooler here, caught between stone walls that rise and bend, as though designed to fold you into the temple's quiet embrace. The soft sounds of the jungle outside are muffled, replaced by the faint echo of your own footsteps. And the faces are everywhere now. You lift your eyes, and you see them stacked above you in tiers, each tower crowned with 4 faces looking outward. No two are exactly alike. One seems almost playful, its smile teasing at the corners. Another seems solemn, its lips barely curved, as though holding some secret you're not quite meant to know. Together, they fill the space with a presence that is hard to describe. Not intimidating, not entirely comforting either, but undeniably alive. You move slowly between the towers. The stones here are darker, shaded from the moonlight by the sheer height of the walls. Every few steps, you pass another carving. Lotus flowers blooming in rows, apsaras with their graceful arms raised, kings seated in procession. The air is still, yet it feels as though it hums faintly, some sound too deep or too old for your ears to fully catch. You reach another platform and pause to take it all in. Above you, the sky is barely visible through the lattice of towers and leaves, but here and there stars peek through, tiny lights in the blackness, glimmering faintly above the smiling faces. The moon casts a pale silver glow over the highest stones, soft enough to make them seem like something out of a dream. You notice a small doorway to your right, framed by 2 slender columns. It is just tall enough for you to step through if you duck slightly. Something about it draws you closer. On either side of the doorway, the walls are covered with carvings of celestial dancers. They seem to sway in the moonlight, their hands poised delicately, their faces turned upward in joy. You step through the doorway into a narrower corridor. Here the air is cooler still, and you hear the faint sound of water dripping somewhere far off. The walls press in around you, close but not oppressive, lined with more faces, smaller now, almost hidden, as though they were carved just for those who would take the time to notice. You run your fingers lightly over the stone as you walk, feeling the grooves of the carvings beneath your fingertips. Some of the faces here are worn nearly smooth, their smiles reduced to faint suggestions, but others are remarkably intact, their serene expressions seeming to glow even in the dim light. The corridor opens suddenly into a small courtyard. It is quiet here, more so than anywhere else you've been yet. The air feels heavy and still, as though holding its breath. At the center of the courtyard stands a lone tower, smaller than the others, but no less striking. Its 4 faces look directly down into the courtyard, meeting your gaze from every angle. You stand in the center, turning slowly to take them all in. Each face seems to tell a slightly different story. One seems gentle and wise, its smile soft and almost parental. Another seems youthful, its grin more pronounced, playful even. A third seems calm but distant, its eyes cast just slightly downward. The fourth is harder to read, neither warm nor cold, its smile subtle enough to leave you guessing. And yet, despite their differences, all 4 radiate the same quiet welcome, as though recognizing you as a traveler who has come a very long way. You sit on the edge of the courtyard, resting your back against the cool stone of the wall. From here, you can see the tops of the larger towers in the distance, their faces peeking through the gaps between the walls, watching you still. The stars above have grown brighter, and a faint breeze stirs the vines that climb the stones around you. You close your eyes. For a few breaths, you let the temple speak in its own language. The subtle creak of stone cooling in the night air, the distant call of a night bird, the quiet trickle of water echoing faintly from some hidden chamber. You imagine what this place might have felt like in its prime, full of people walking these same paths, their sandals scuffing against the stones, their laughter and conversations filling the air. You imagine the sound of bells and drums, the scent of flowers and incense, the sight of orange robes passing between the towers like streams of sunlight. And still, above it all, the faces watched. They watched the kings come and go, watched armies march through the gates, watched monks sweep the stones at dawn, watched vines slowly creep over the walls. They have seen seasons turn, floods rise, roots crack stone. Yet their smiles never faltered. You open your eyes again. The courtyard is quiet, but you feel less alone now. The faces seem closer somehow, as though they've leaned in to listen, as though they've heard your footsteps and decided you're part of their long, unending story too. You rise slowly, stretching your legs, and walk to the far end of the courtyard, where another narrow passage waits, draped with shadows and half lit by the faint glow of the moon. Before you pass through, you turn back once more, letting your gaze linger on the 4 faces above you. Their smiles catch the starlight, faint but steady. You take a slow breath. The air here feels heavier, but in a comforting way, like a warm blanket, like the weight of something old and kind resting gently over you. Then, one step at a time, you move forward, leaving the courtyard behind. Ahead, the passage curves gently out of sight, the stone walls narrowing again, pulling you deeper into the temple. The quiet grows thicker here, and the faces follow you still, watching from hidden corners and high towers, each smile a silent promise that you're exactly where you're meant to be. You run your fingers once more along the cool stone as you walk, feeling the faint pulse of history beneath your palm. And as you disappear into the shadows of the next chamber, The gate of smiles remains behind you, its serene watchers glowing faintly in the moonlight, waiting for the next traveller to pass through. Here, at Bayon, no one truly walks alone. The corridor ahead curves gently to the right, drawing you into its quiet depths. The walls press close now, cool and damp against the air, as if the stones have soaked in centuries of rain and silence. You move carefully, your steps muffled by a thin layer of dust that softens every sound. Here, the carvings grow denser. Every inch of stone seems to hold a story. At first, they seem chaotic, so many shapes and lines crisscrossing the surface. But as your eyes adjust, patterns emerge. Figures of soldiers march in long rows. Elephants carry great banners, and kings ride in chariots, their faces calm even in the midst of battle. This is the Hall of Stories, the long gallery of bas-reliefs that circles the temple's heart. You slow your pace here, letting your hand hover just above the walls, tracing the scenes with your eyes. To your left, warriors clash, their swords raised high, their shields braced. You can see the detail in their armor, rows of tiny, deliberate lines that catch the moonlight. You imagine them shouting, their footsteps pounding on the stones. But here, they remain frozen, as silent as the stars above. Above the warriors, a procession unfolds. Courtiers in flowing robes carry lotus blossoms, their heads bowed. One figure sits high on a throne, shaded by an umbrella carved with exquisite care. Around him, attendants fan the air, offering trays of fruits and flowers. For a moment, you forget where you are. You can almost hear the drums, steady and low, the scent of incense drifting through the crowd, the rustle of silk robes brushing against the ground. The corridor opens briefly into another small courtyard, and you pause there to look up. The towers rise high above you again, their faces catching the faint silver of the moon. From this angle, you notice something you hadn't before, how their smiles seem to deepen in the moonlight, how their eyes seem softer, more present. Then you turn back to the gallery, stepping back into the next stretch of carvings. On this wall, a great naval battle is depicted. You see long boats with curved prows slicing through waves, soldiers lined up along their sides with bows drawn. Beneath them, fish and crocodiles weave between the hulls, carved with just as much care as the warriors above. One soldier clings to the side of a boat, his expression caught halfway between determination and fear. Even worn and faded, his story feels alive. You wonder who carved him. Was it a young artisan, hunched over the stone for hours in the humid air, pressing each line into place with aching fingers? Did he know that his soldier would still be here, 8 centuries later, waiting for someone like you to notice? You take another step, and the scene shifts. Now a market bustles across the wall, merchants sitting cross-legged behind baskets of fruits and cloth, children playing between them, animals lounging lazily at their feet. A woman carries a bundle of reeds, her skirt swinging just above her ankles. Another man crouches beside a cooking fire, his hands outstretched toward an invisible pot. You smile softly to yourself. Even here, even in stone, the simple rhythms of life persist. You follow the gallery farther, turning a corner into another stretch of carvings. This scene seems different. Here, the figures float above the ground, their hands poised in graceful gestures, their robes billowing around them as though caught in a breeze that never touches you. These are the Apsaras, celestial dancers. They cover the wall in clusters, their feet barely touching the stone, their eyes closed in blissful concentration. You pause in front of one in particular, her arms curved like vines, her head tilted just so, a faint smile playing at her lips. For a moment, you imagine her stepping out of the stone entirely, her bare feet pressing softly into the dust, her body turning slowly in the moonlight. But she stays where she is, content to keep her watch with the others. You linger here, letting the silence settle into you. Somewhere above, the faint sound of a bird calling drifts down, and you feel the weight of the temple all around you. Not heavy, not stifling, but deep and grounding, as though you've stepped inside the heartbeat of the earth itself. You walk on. The corridor narrows again, the walls pressing close, their carvings growing fainter now. The figures are more worn here, their edges softened by time and touch. But one figure catches your attention. Near the corner of a wall, almost hidden in the shadow, a single face peers out. Not one of the great smiling faces of the towers, but a smaller, subtler carving. It is just a head, tucked low into the stone, its features simple and serene. You crouch to look closer. Even here, where few visitors might ever notice, the smile is unmistakable, gentle, knowing, waiting. You feel something shift quietly in your chest, as though this little face was meant for you alone, placed here centuries ago, so that you could find it now. You stand slowly and continue walking, the quiet deeper now, the carvings on the walls fading into shadows behind you. The hall finally opens into a larger chamber. Here, the ceiling rises high, supported by thick columns carved with lotus motifs. The space feels vast after the narrow gallery, and the air carries a faint echo of your steps. The walls here are bare of carvings. Instead, they are smooth and dark, catching the moonlight that filters in through cracks above. At the center of the chamber stands a low platform, its surface polished by time and touch. You walk toward it slowly, feeling the quiet gather around you like a cloak. Sitting on the edge of the platform, you let your hands rest against the cool stone. The silence here feels different, fuller somehow. You close your eyes and imagine this space as it must have been long ago. Perhaps once there were candles flickering in the corners, their light casting soft gold across the walls. Perhaps the air was thick with the scent of jasmine and smoke, the faint murmur of prayers rising like mist toward the ceiling. You imagine monks kneeling here, their heads bowed, their chants filling the space with a rhythm that never fully fades. Even now you can almost hear it, a faint hum at the edge of hearing. You let yourself sink into that quiet, letting the weight of the temple hold you for a little while. When you open your eyes again, the moonlight has shifted slightly, casting long shadows across the floor. The smiling faces are not visible from here, but you feel them still, watching patiently from above, their presence folded into every stone. You rise from the platform and move toward the far end of the chamber, where another narrow doorway waits. Before stepping through, you glance back once more at the bare walls, the polished platform, the tall columns reaching upward into the darkness. Then you pass into the next corridor. Here, the air feels cooler again, and the faint scent of earth is stronger. The walls are rougher now, the carvings sparse, but still present. Here, a lotus blossom. There a single dancer caught mid-step. You let your hand glide over them as you walk, the grooves shallow and warm beneath your fingertips. The corridor twists gently, then opens into yet another courtyard. This one smaller, more secluded, almost hidden entirely by the towers above. In the center of the courtyard sits a single stone basin, its edges worn smooth, a thin layer of water collected at the bottom. The surface of the water reflects the moonlight, and when you lean over it, you see not just your own face, but the faint suggestion of the smiling towers above, their images trembling faintly in the ripples. You kneel by the basin, letting your fingers dip into the water. It is cool, shockingly so, and for a moment it feels like a thread tying you to the countless others who have stood here before you, cupped this same water in their palms, watched the same towers watching them in return. You close your eyes again, letting the quiet wrap around you. When you open them, the courtyard seems even more alive, the vines curling higher up the walls, the stars brighter above, the faint hum of the jungle pulsing softly at the edges of your senses. You sit on the basin's edge, letting your feet rest against the cool stone floor, and tilt your head back to look at the towers one more time. Their smiles catch the starlight again, faint but steady, their eyes fixed on something beyond you, and yet somehow always on you as well. The Hall of Stories has told you much tonight, of kings and dancers, of battles and prayers, of moments both grand and ordinary. But you sense that its stories are not finished yet. There are more corridors to wander, more quiet corners to find, more faces waiting to greet you with that same patient smile. And so, when you finally rise and take another slow breath, you feel lighter, as though the stories have settled into you now, becoming part of your own quiet journey. You step through another doorway, the walls closing in gently once more, and the soft hush of the temple follows you like a promise. Somewhere deeper inside, the next chapter waits, and the smiling faces of Bayon will be there too, ready to guide you farther into their dream. The corridor ahead narrows into darkness, but you follow it without hesitation now. The silence has changed, no longer heavy or foreign. It feels like a companion walking alongside you, filling the space between your footsteps, soft and constant. You move slowly, your fingers brushing the cool walls, as the faint scent of moss and stone lingers in the air. Here and there, the moonlight catches through small cracks high above, splintering into beams that fall in thin, silvery lines across the stone floor. Dust drifts lazily through those shafts of light, and the air smells faintly of something sweet. Perhaps the vines blooming far above your head. You climb a short flight of shallow steps, each one worn smooth in the middle from centuries of passing feet. They lead you upward into another chamber, this one brighter, the moonlight spilling across the stones through an open arch above. The sound of your footsteps changes here. No longer muffled by narrow walls, each step sends a faint echo rippling outward into the space. You pause to listen. It sounds like a whisper, like the memory of hundreds of other travelers walking before you, each leaving behind the quiet hush of their passage. You move forward into the open. This new courtyard is wider, framed by columns on all sides and crowned by several of the great towers that rise high into the night sky. Here they seem even taller, more imposing, as though they've gathered closer together to watch you. The towers loom like great stone trees, their faces tilted ever so slightly downward, as though leaning in to greet you. And they do greet you. Those smiles faint but unmistakable, glowing faintly in the moonlight. From here, you can see them more clearly than ever before. Each tower is square, tapering toward the top where the four faces are carved, one on each side, so that together they look outward in every direction. Their eyes are gently closed or lowered, their lips curved into that quiet, knowing smile. Some faces seem almost playful, others solemn, but never unkind. You walk slowly between them, looking up at each one in turn. The air here feels alive with their presence, as though the smiles themselves are breathing. You stop at the base of the tallest tower. Its faces seem to float against the dark sky, their contours catching the faint silver of the stars above. The doorway to this tower is small and plain, a simple archway crowned by a row of delicate carvings, lotus flowers and winding vines. You duck inside. Here, the walls are bare, cool to the touch, the air heavy with the scent of stone and thyme. A narrow staircase spirals upward, disappearing into the shadows. You place your hand against the inner wall to steady yourself and begin the climb. The steps are narrow, carved deep into the stone, and each one seems just slightly different from the last, some higher, some more worn, as though they have been reshaped over the centuries by countless feet. The air grows cooler as you climb. You can hear your own breath now, the faint rasp of your fingertips against the stone as you ascend. Somewhere far above, a faint beam of moonlight waits, spilling down the staircase like water. You climb toward it. At last, the stair opens onto a small landing near the top of the tower. You step out, and the world unfolds around you. From here, the temple spreads in every direction, a sea of stone towers, their faces all watching, all smiling faintly into the night. Beyond them, the jungle stretches endlessly, dark and alive, the treetops swaying faintly in the breeze. The stars seem closer here. The moon casts a silver sheen across the temple, turning the stones into something softer, almost luminous. You move closer to the edge of the landing, resting your hands lightly against the low wall, and tilt your head back to look up at the faces above you. From here, you're so close you can see the fine details: the graceful curve of the lips, the faint arch of the eyebrows, the delicate folds of what might have once been a headdress. The eyes are half closed, calm and watchful, their gaze cast somewhere between the earth and the sky. And you feel it again, that sense of being seen, of being welcomed without question. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the quiet sink into you. When you open them again, the jungle breathes softly around you. You can hear the faint hum of insects far below, the sigh of leaves, the distant trickle of water. You imagine what it must have been like to stand here centuries ago, when the temple was alive with monks and pilgrims, when incense curled into the air and prayers rose with the dawn. Even then, the faces would have looked the same, smiling softly at each passerby, patient and eternal. You turn slowly, taking in the view from every side. Below, the courtyards and corridors twist and wind through the temple like streams of stone, their paths lit now by moonlight and shadow. The faces look back at you from every angle, their presence steady and grounding, as though holding the temple and you in place. You sit on the edge of the landing, letting your feet dangle slightly over the worn stones. The breeze is cooler up here, carrying the faint scent of flowers from somewhere far below. For a little while, you just sit there. You watch the stars, the faint shiver of the leaves, the slow dance of shadows across the faces of the towers. At times, you almost imagine the faces shift, their smiles deepening slightly, their eyes glinting faintly in the moonlight. But you don't look away. They are still. You rise at last and glance once more at the four faces of this tower before heading back to the staircase. The climb down feels different, not heavier exactly, but slower, more deliberate, as though you're carrying something with you now. You step back into the courtyard below, the cool air wrapping around you. The towers above remain silent and serene, their smiles glowing faintly in the quiet night. You walk slowly toward another corridor, letting your hand drift along the stones as you go. Here, the carvings are more sparse, but still present. A single lotus here, a faint outline of an elephant there, just enough to remind you that every corner of this temple holds a story. The corridor curves again and opens onto another platform. This one is smaller, more secluded, surrounded on all sides by low walls and crowned by a single tower. You step out into the space and look up. The tower here feels different, not taller, but somehow more intimate. The faces above you are closer, their smiles gentler, their presence more personal. You sit at the center of the platform, letting the stone cool beneath you. The silence deepens here, wrapping around you like a soft cloak, and you find yourself smiling back at the faces. For a long time, you just sit there, letting your thoughts settle into the quiet rhythm of the temple. Above, the faces watch, not impatient, not demanding, just present, as though they have always been waiting for you. You rise after a while, your legs heavy but steady, and walk back toward the main courtyard. There, you pause to look up once more at the towers gathered above you, their faces layered and overlapping, like a forest of smiles reaching into the night sky. And you feel it again, the strange comfort of being seen, of being held in place by something older and kinder than you can name. You move toward another doorway, one you haven't noticed before, its edges half hidden by vines and shadow. The air beyond it is cooler, carrying the faint scent of water and stone. You pass through, and the temple seems to exhale, its quiet shifting around you as though guiding you deeper still. You emerge into yet another courtyard, this one almost entirely open to the sky. Here, the towers rise in a perfect circle around you, their faces all turned slightly inward, their smiles soft and secret. The moon is directly above now, casting a pale glow over everything, and the faces seem to drink it in, their stone catching the light and holding it gently. You stand at the center of the circle, tilting your head back to look at them all. Each face seems to whisper something different, a story you can almost hear if you just close your eyes and listen. So you do. You let the air settle into you, let the silence deepen, let the temple speak in its own quiet language. When you open your eyes again, the smiles are still there, steady and calm. You take a long, slow breath and feel yourself smiling back. Then you step lightly toward the next corridor, the faint sound of your footsteps fading into the hush of the temple. The towers above remain, watching and waiting, their smiles lingering in the moonlight like promises. And as you disappear into the shadows of the next passage, you know they will still be there, waiting for you when you return. The corridor ahead darkens as you move forward, swallowed by shadow. You slow your pace, letting your hand glide along the cool stone, fingertips catching faint grooves left by tools centuries ago. The smell of earth deepens here, damp and rich, mingled with a faint trace of incense that still seems to cling to the stones. The air feels heavier, but not unwelcome. The hush is almost absolute now, broken only by the occasional creak of the temple settling and the faint echo of your own footsteps. Here, the walls are different. Instead of carvings covering every surface, they are bare in long stretches, smooth and dark, punctuated only by occasional niches where small statues once stood. Some are empty now, their shapes outlined in dust. Others still hold figures, worn and headless in places, yet their quiet presence remains. You pass one of these niches, and something about it catches your attention. You pause and look closer. At first it seems like nothing more than another shadow, but as your eyes adjust, you see a small figure sitting cross-legged in the stone, almost hidden from view. Its features are faint, nearly erased by time, but you can still make out the curve of its shoulders, the suggestion of a face tilted downward in meditation. You lean closer, and for a moment, it feels as though the figure leans back toward you. A silent acknowledgement, a welcome deeper than words. You stand again and continue on. The corridor narrows as it descends slightly, the steps uneven and worn. The air grows cooler with each step, carrying the scent of water and stone. Finally, the passage opens into a small chamber. It is quiet here, so quiet you almost forget to breathe at first. The space is square, its walls covered not with elaborate carvings, but with faint outlines of flowers and delicate vines, barely visible in the low light. In the center of the chamber sits an altar. It is simple, a square block of stone, its surface worn smooth by countless offerings. Around its base are scattered faded petals, remnants of incense sticks, and the faint shimmer of candle wax pooled in cracks and crevices. You step closer. On the altar rests a single figure, a small Buddha carved from sandstone, seated in serene meditation. One hand rests gently on his lap, the other raised slightly, fingers curled in a quiet gesture of teaching. Its smile is so soft, it seems to hover just above the stone, as though waiting to be fully seen. You kneel before it, feeling the coolness of the floor seep through your clothes, and simply sit there for a while. The chamber hums faintly, not with sound but with presence, as though the walls themselves are alive, holding you in their quiet embrace. Your eyes drift closed, and for a moment you let yourself imagine this room as it was long ago. You can almost hear the rhythmic chant of monks filling the air, the soft crackle of candle flames dancing on the walls, the faint clink of bowls and bells. You can almost smell the heavy sweetness of fresh flowers, the sharp tang of incense smoke curling upward. When you open your eyes again, the chamber is still and waiting, its silence as steady as the stone. You stand slowly, your fingers brushing the edge of the altar one last time, and turn toward another darkened passage at the back of the chamber. This one is narrower still and lower, forcing you to duck slightly as you move forward. It winds in tight turns, the walls closing in until they feel almost like a tunnel. The air grows cooler, and now you can hear the faint trickle of water somewhere ahead. You round another corner, and the space opens again, this time into a longer, rectangular chamber with a low, vaulted ceiling. Here, water seeps from the stones, collecting in shallow pools along the floor. Moonlight filters in through cracks above, catching on the surface of the water and sending faint ripples of light dancing across the walls. The walls themselves are more ornate here. Along their length run rows of lotus flowers carved in perfect repetition, their petals opening toward the ceiling. Between the flowers are more figures, monks, kings, dancers, each tucked into their own little alcove, each face serene and silent. You step carefully along the dry stones at the edge of the chamber, your reflection shifting faintly in the dark water below. At the far end, another altar waits, this one taller, crowned with a single torch-shaped carving at its peak. It is unlit now, but you can almost imagine it glowing once, casting long shadows of the figures across the chamber. You approach it slowly, your footsteps echoing faintly. At its base rests another figure, much larger than the one before, a standing bodhisattva with a faint smile and arms outstretched. One palm faces upward, as though offering something unseen. You stand before it and feel a strange lightness in your chest, as though the quiet here has lifted something you didn't even realize you were carrying. For a long while, you just stand there, letting the silence of the hidden chamber fill you. The faint sound of water dripping into the pools below seems to slow, its rhythm settling into your heartbeat. You reach out a hand and rest it gently on the edge of the altar, feeling the cool stone beneath your fingertips. It feels alive. You don't know how long you stand there. Eventually, you turn and begin making your way back along the edge of the chamber, following the faint glint of moonlight where it spills through the cracks. The passage feels even narrower on the way back, but it no longer feels confining, more like a pathway guiding you gently towards something else. You emerge into the first small chamber again, the one with the simple altar, and then back into the original corridor. Here, the air feels warmer again, and the faint scent of the jungle creeps back in. The earthy green of leaves and distant flowers. You follow the corridor until it opens into another space, yet another hidden chamber, but this one unlike the others. It is round, perfectly so, with walls that curve gently toward a domed ceiling above. The center of the room is empty, but around its edges are 12 niches, each holding a different figure. Some seated, some standing, some almost completely worn away. You walk slowly around the circle, stopping at each one in turn. Some seem to gaze back at you directly, their eyes alive even in the dim light. Others are so faded you can barely make out their features, and yet they still seem to watch you, still seem to smile faintly. By the time you complete the circle, the quiet of the room has sunk deep into your bones. You move to the center of the floor and sit cross-legged, letting your hands rest gently on your knees. Above you, the moonlight spills through a single small opening at the peak of the dome, creating a narrow column of light that falls across the stones. You tilt your head back and watch the dust shimmer through that beam of light, swirling lazily as though dancing, and you close your eyes. For a little while, you just sit there, breathing in the temple air, letting the weight of the stone and the stillness of the chamber settle into you. You imagine the people who once sat here, perhaps just as you are now, quiet, waiting, listening. You imagine the faint echo of chants rising to the dome, the scent of flowers filling the space, the soft press of warm air against their skin. When you open your eyes again, nothing has changed. And yet everything feels different. The silence feels fuller now, as though it recognizes you. You stand slowly, stretching your legs, and take one last look around the circular chamber. Then you find another passage waiting for you. A narrow archway draped with vines and shadow, barely visible at first glance. You step through it, feeling the cool air deepen again, and the hush of the temple follow you. This passage is long and sloping, descending gently into what feels like the earth itself. The walls grow rougher here, their stones uneven, the air heavier. You descend slowly, your hand trailing along the wall, listening to the faint sound of your own breath. At the bottom, the passage opens into yet another chamber, the largest yet. It is vast, with a ceiling that disappears into darkness above. Columns rise all around you like a forest of stone, their surfaces carved with vines and lotuses, their tops lost in shadow. You walk into the center of the space, and the echo of your footsteps seems to wake something in the air. A faint rustle, a subtle shift, as though the chamber itself is acknowledging you. At the far end, a massive figure sits against the wall. A Buddha larger than any you've seen yet, carved directly from the stone, its eyes half closed, its smile gentle and vast. Even in shadow, it seems to glow. You walk slowly toward it, stopping just before the base of its platform. Here, the quiet feels almost sacred. You sit once more, resting your hands in your lap, and let yourself simply be. The weight of the hidden chambers, the hush of the corridors, the faint smiles of the faces above, they all settle around you now, folding you into the temple's long memory. For a while, you lose all sense of time. When you finally rise, your legs feel heavy but steady. You turn and walk back toward the passage, the air behind you lingering like a soft breath. The hidden chambers have given you something, though you cannot quite name it. And as you ascend back toward the light, you carry it with you, tucked quietly into your chest. You emerge once more into the moonlit courtyard, the towers above smiling faintly as though they know where you've been. And you smile back, feeling lighter now, ready to step deeper still into the dream of this place. You emerge from the hidden chambers quietly, almost reluctantly, as though leaving behind an old friend. The moon still hangs high above the temple, and the air seems softer now, as though it too has exhaled after your visit to the depths. You pause at the threshold of the courtyard. The smiling towers loom above you, their faces catching the silver light and holding it gently, their presence unchanged. Yet something has changed in you. You feel it in the way you breathe more deeply now, in the way your steps move more easily over the stones. You glance back toward the dark passage you came from, the one that carried you into the earth, and offer a quiet nod of thanks before turning to continue on. The next corridor opens ahead of you, its walls lined with cracked stones and draped in thick vines. The air smells different here, greener somehow, tinged with the faint sweetness of blossoms carried in from the jungle. As you walk, the temple begins to shift subtly around you. The walls are less intact now. Large stones lean haphazardly against one another where they've slipped from their places, and roots have threaded themselves through the cracks, splitting the stone, yet holding it together at the same time. Overhead, the canopy has crept back in, letting only scattered beams of moonlight fall across your path. You step carefully over fallen branches and piles of leaves gathered against the stones. Somewhere nearby, the faint chorus of frogs begins to hum, their song steady and low, blending with the quiet rhythm of your footsteps. You come to another archway, its top barely standing, weighed down by the thick trunk of a fig tree that has claimed it as its own. The tree's roots snake down the walls on either side, coiling across the ground, smooth and pale in the moonlight. You stop beneath the arch and look up. Above you, the stars glimmer faintly through the leaves, and for just a moment the temple and the jungle seem indistinguishable. Stone and wood braided together into something ancient and alive. You move forward again, your feet finding the path even as the vines and roots grow thicker underfoot. The corridor opens into a wider courtyard, and here the jungle has truly begun to reclaim the stones. A massive tree rises at the center, its roots spilling outward like rivers, pouring over the walls and curling around the towers. Its trunk is wide and smooth, its bark marked with faint lines where it has pressed against the carvings over the centuries. You stand there for a long moment, letting your eyes trace the path of its roots as they crawl up into the cracks between stones, wrapping themselves around smiling faces and delicate dancers alike. And yet, the faces still smile. Even half hidden by leaves and vines, their calm expressions remain unchanged, patient and quiet, as though unbothered by the slow encroachment of the forest. You walk closer to the tree and place your hand lightly against its trunk. It's warm. You close your eyes and feel the faint hum of life running through it, deep and steady, as though it remembers every storm, every visitor, every long, quiet night. You open your eyes again and take a slow breath, letting the scent of the jungle settle into you. Rich soil, faint blossoms, the sharp green of crushed leaves. Around the edges of the courtyard, doorways lead off into more corridors, but here the path grows wilder, less defined. You choose one at random, letting your feet carry you where they will. This corridor is narrower, with low walls that have collapsed in places to form little piles of stones. Moss grows thick here, so soft it muffles the sound of your steps entirely. It feels as though you're walking into a dream. The walls to either side are half swallowed by vines and ferns, their carvings still faintly visible beneath the green. A figure here, a lotus blossom there. You pause at one of the walls and peel back a curtain of vines. Beneath it, a single dancer is carved into the stone, her arms curved gracefully above her head. Her face is almost completely covered in moss, yet her faint smile still shows through. You step back and let the vines fall back into place, as though tucking her back to sleep. You continue on. The corridor turns again and opens into another courtyard, this one smaller and quieter, the stones scattered and uneven beneath your feet. Here, the jungle presses in from all sides. Trees arching overhead, roots curling around the base of the towers, ferns spilling over the steps. You climb one of those steps slowly, the moss cool under your hands, and sit for a moment at the top, letting your gaze wander across the space. Even here, where the jungle seems to have swallowed almost everything, the towers still rise, their faces still looking out over the stones, their smiles undisturbed. You close your eyes and listen to the night. The frogs still hum, joined now by the faint trill of insects and the distant rush of wind through the treetops. You imagine what this place must have looked like when it was new. The stones clean and sharp, the courtyards bustling with people. And then you imagine how slowly, almost lovingly, the jungle crept back in, weaving itself into the walls and floors, draping itself over the towers until they were part of it again. You open your eyes and find that the vines above you have shifted slightly in the breeze, letting a sliver of moonlight fall across one of the nearby towers. The face there seems to glow softly, its eyes half closed, its smile faint but unmistakable. You rise and walk toward it. Around the base of the tower, a tangled web of roots creates a kind of natural archway. You duck beneath it, stepping carefully over the uneven stones, and emerge into yet another hidden space. Here, the jungle has almost entirely taken over. Trees growing through the walls, their branches stretching into the open air above. Yet the temple remains. At the center of this little clearing stands a lone altar, almost buried beneath leaves and moss. You kneel and brush some of the debris away, revealing a smooth surface beneath. At its center rests a small figure, a dancer carved into the stone, her body arched in motion, her face calm. You run your fingers lightly over her and then sit back on your heels, letting the silence wash over you again. After a while, you stand and continue on, weaving your way between the trees and towers. The path grows less and less clear now, but you don't mind. Each step feels like a quiet conversation between you and the stones, between you and the jungle. The earth humming softly beneath your feet, the air thick with the scent of flowers and damp leaves. You pass another collapsed wall, and beyond it lies a pool of water. Its surface is still black and mirror-like, reflecting the moonlight and the faint outlines of the surrounding towers. You crouch at its edge and look down. Your own face looks back at you, faint and wavery, but behind it, you see the faint smile of the stone faces above, their images shimmering in the ripples. For a moment, it feels as though you're part of that reflection too. Another quiet figure watching and being watched, woven into the fabric of the temple. You stand slowly, feeling the soft press of moss beneath your feet, and continue walking. The jungle deepens around you, the air thicker now, the canopy almost entirely blocking out the sky. But here and there, faint slivers of moonlight still find their way through, catching on carvings half buried in leaves, on towers tilted slightly, as though leaning into the trees for support. You pause at another tower and rest your hand against it. It feels warm now, faintly alive, as though the jungle has lent it its breath. You tilt your head back and find its face smiling down at you still, undisturbed by the roots climbing its edges, untroubled by the branches cradling its crown. And you smile back. For a long time, you simply stand there, letting the quiet of the jungle and the hush of the temple settle into you. The frogs sing, the wind sighs through the leaves. The jungle and the temple breathe together, and you breathe with them. When you finally move again, it is without hurry. You step through another curtain of vines and find yourself in yet another courtyard. Wider now, with the jungle giving way slightly, as though letting the temple breathe again. Here, the towers rise taller, their faces catching more moonlight, their smiles steady and calm. You walk to the center of the space and sit quietly on a stone ledge. Above you, the jungle and the temple meet. Branches twined with towers, leaves draping over carved stone. You close your eyes and feel the weight of it all. The years, the silence, the patient breath of the earth. When you open them again, the faces are still there, still watching, still smiling. You stand slowly and step toward yet another archway at the edge of the courtyard, this one half hidden by a fallen tree, its stones cracked but still holding. You duck beneath it, and the air shifts again, carrying the faint scent of water and blossoms. You glance back once before stepping through. The courtyard behind you glows faintly, the towers bathed in moonlight, their faces steady and calm even as the jungle whispers around them. And then you move forward, deeper into the dream of the Bayon, where the jungle sleeps with the stones, and the smiles of the temple wait patiently for you to find them again. The archway you pass through is narrow and low, so draped in vines it feels like entering a cave of green. The stone presses cool against your shoulders as you duck slightly, slipping into the quiet beyond. On the other side, the air grows still again, deeper now, as though you've stepped into the innermost breath of the temple. The faint chorus of insects has faded to a murmur, and the occasional bird call seems far away. Here, the jungle falls away just enough to reveal a wide open space. The stones are smoother underfoot, the walls more intact. This place feels like a heart, like everything you've wandered through so far has been leading you here. You stop and lift your gaze. Above you, the towers rise higher than anywhere else. Their faces are impossibly clear now, their smiles bathed not in sunlight, but in moonlight so soft and full it almost seems to glow from within the stones themselves. You stand there for a long moment, caught between the silence of the temple and the hush of the night. The moon hangs heavy overhead, framed by the faint outline of drifting clouds, and the faces look down at you, timeless and calm. You walk to the center of the courtyard and sit gently on the stones, crossing your legs, letting the weight of the place settle into you one last time. The air here is different. It feels almost heavy now, but not oppressive. More like a thick blanket being drawn over you. The stones are warm against your palms. The faint scent of the jungle lingers around you, mingling with something older and deeper. Incense long faded, rain baked into the walls, time itself. You tilt your head back and watch the towers as they loom quietly above, their smiles unchanging. At this hour, they seem to lean closer somehow, as though they've drawn the night in tight around themselves and around you. One by one, you let your gaze travel over each of the faces, noting how no two are quite the same. One looks playful, with its lips curved just a little more than the others. Another seems softer, almost shy, its smile so faint you almost imagine it. A third feels solemn, its eyes cast downward in thought, while a fourth seems to look directly at you, its expression welcoming, steady, certain. And all around them, the moonlight glides down the stones, tracing their outlines, catching in the carved lotus petals, slipping along the vines that have claimed the walls. You let your shoulders relax and close your eyes just for a moment. In the darkness behind your lids, you feel the temple breathe, slowly, rhythmically, as though its silence has a pulse that matches your own. You can almost hear it now. A low, slow rhythm, deep in the stones beneath you, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. You open your eyes again, and the faces are still watching, still smiling. You rise and walk to the edge of the platform, where a narrow stairway curls downward into shadow. You descend carefully, your hand trailing along the wall, feeling the grooves worn smooth by centuries of passing fingers. The air cools as you descend, and when you emerge again into open space, you find yourself in another courtyard, smaller, more secluded. Here, the jungle presses closer again, but gently, as though reluctant to disturb the calm. A single tree stands at the center of the courtyard, its roots curling outward and down into the stones. Around its base are fallen blossoms, pale and soft, scattered like stars. You walk slowly toward it and sit at its roots, leaning back against the rough bark. The ground here feels even warmer now, and you let your head tilt back, looking up into the dark canopy above, where moonlight filters down in thin, dappled beams. For a long time, you stay like that, feeling the quiet deepen around you. The temple seems to close in here, not to trap you, but to hold you, to keep you safe. You let your breathing slow to match its quiet rhythm, your eyes half closed, your mind softening at the edges. When you stand again, your body feels heavy and light at the same time, as though you are moving through water. You follow another narrow path leading out of the courtyard, the stones slick now with dew. Here, the carvings are sparse, but you catch glimpses of them under the vines, faint figures still dancing in the shadows, faint faces still smiling from their alcoves. The path curves and brings you to one last chamber. It is nearly round, its walls curved inward toward a domed ceiling where a small opening lets the moon pour through in a single, soft column of silver. You step into the circle and sit on the stones at its center, letting the light fall over you. Around the edges of the room, more faces watch. Smaller here, more delicate, their smiles just as steady. You close your eyes and feel the hush fill you. Feel it rise and fall with your breath. The air is thick with sleep now, not just yours, but the sleep of the temple, of the jungle, of everything. The silence hums against your skin, and you feel yourself sinking into it, as though the stones beneath you are no longer holding you up, but carrying you somewhere deeper, somewhere softer. You open your eyes just long enough to catch the faint shimmer of dust drifting through the moonlight. Then you let them close again. You sit there, quiet and still, while the temple breathes around you. Time blurs. You don't know how long you remain in that circle, the rhythm of your breath merging with the hush of the stones, the moonlight slipping across your skin like water. But slowly, the thought of leaving begins to stir at the edge of your mind. You rise slowly, feeling the weight of the quiet still folded around you, and walk toward the exit. The corridors here are darker now, the vines heavier, the carvings softer, as though the temple itself is beginning to sleep. You move through the arches one by one, past the courtyards, past the tree whose blossoms now carpet the stones completely. You return to the great courtyard at the heart of the temple, where the towers rise highest, their faces still bathed in moonlight. You stand in the center, looking up at them one last time. The smiles are steady, patient. Their eyes seem even more alive now, though they are half closed, as though they too are drifting toward sleep, even as they keep their silent watch. You sit once more at the center of the courtyard and close your eyes. The weight of the temple gathers around you, heavier now, but no longer something you carry, something that carries you. The hush deepens. Your thoughts grow slow, soft, slipping through your mind like the vines slipping over the stones. The warmth of the air wraps around you. The faint scent of flowers and stone lulls you further, and your breath settles into the rhythm of the quiet. The temple holds you. The towers above lean in close, their smiles the last thing you see before sleep takes you completely. You sink into the hush of the jungle and the stones. You sink into the quiet of the faces that have watched over centuries of travelers just like you. And you sleep. Rest now, traveler. You've wandered far tonight, through moonlit corridors and quiet chambers, through courtyards draped in vines and faces carved in stone. You've sat beneath the watchful smiles of the Bayon, felt its silence settle around you. Let its hush fill your chest and slow your thoughts. And now, as the temple drifts deeper into its own long sleep, you do too. There is nothing left to do here. The stones will remember you, the faces will watch over you, and the jungle will breathe its gentle rhythm, cradling you while you dream. The temple waits quietly at the edge of the world, not just here, but in your memory now, ready for you whenever you wish to return. So let go of the path. Let go of the carvings, the vines, the towers, the hush. Close your eyes and let the temple carry you into sleep. You are safe here, under the calm gaze of the stone faces, under the steady weight of the ancient air, wrapped in the warmth of 1,000 quiet nights. Good night, traveler. Rest well.